Have you ever stopped to think about the food on your plate? I mean, is it actually helping your brain, or is it maybe hurting it? Today, we're diving deep into the science of neuronutrition. That is, how what you eat directly shapes your brain's performance and even how it ages. This isn't just about buzzwords like superfoods. It's about a real fundamental connection between your diet and your mind. So, let's get into it.
First, we're going to tackle all the confusing nutritional advice out there. Then, we'll decode the hard science behind the nutrients that actually boost your brain. After that, we'll build a super practical grocery list, explore how this science gets communicated in our wild digital age, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with how you can turn all this knowledge into a lifestyle you can actually stick with.
All right, first up, the brain food dilemma. You know how it is. One day you hear about some new miracle superfood, and the very next day a different study comes out saying it's totally useless, right? It's a lot of noise. So our first step is to learn how to navigate that and figure out what's actually good for our brains based on solid evidence.
Let's just cut right to the chase with this question, because the research is becoming incredibly clear. The choices we make about food every single day are either hitting the gas pedal or the brake on the aging process happening inside our brains.
I mean, we're just flooded, aren't we? Every single day there's a new health trend, a new superfood claim, a new diet fad. So our goal here is to just hit pause on all of that and ground ourselves in what the actual scientific evidence tells us about feeding our brains for the long haul.
So if we're serious about cutting through the noise, we have to start with the science. Let's decode what's happening on, like, a molecular level, and really zoom in on the specific nutrients that scientists have flagged as being absolutely critical for our cognitive function. And first on our list is a nutrient called choline. Think of it as a crucial construction worker for your brain. It's essential for keeping your brain cells strong and stable, and it's a key ingredient for acetylcholine. That's a neurotransmitter that basically acts as a messenger for your memory. Without enough choline, those important memory signals just can't get sent properly.
Okay, but how do we really know this isn't just another health fad? Well, the evidence comes from some seriously heavy-hitting long-term research, like the Framingham Offspring Cohort Study. And this is so important because it wasn't some quick lab experiment. It followed thousands of real people over many years, looking at their actual diets. That's the gold standard for this kind of science.
And wow, when you look at the data, the results were just striking. It wasn't even subtle. You can literally see a direct connection. The more choline people ate, the better their memory performed. We're not talking about a tiny difference here. That's a significant jump in both their verbal and visual memory scores. It's a clear, positive link.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The researchers' own conclusion says it all. Better memory performance is directly related to higher choline intake. So the big takeaway here is that this isn't just some theory. It's a solid conclusion backed by years of data from thousands of regular people.
Okay, so we know choline is a big deal. But where in the world do we get it? I mean, you don't go to the store and buy a carton of choline, right? This brings us to the really practical part, your brain's grocery list, where we turn all that science into actual food you can buy. All right, here are some of the heavy hitters for your grocery list. Eggs, they are an absolute powerhouse of that choline we were just talking about. Nuts and seeds are fantastic for delivering crucial omega-3 fats and antioxidants. Berries and leafy greens like spinach and kale are loaded with protective compounds called flavonoids. And of course, fatty fish like salmon gives you DHA, an omega-3 that is literally part of the physical structure of your brain cells. And you know what the best part is? It doesn't take some massive, life-altering change to get these benefits. We're talking about just 1 ounce of nuts or seeds a day. That's about a small handful. That's all it takes to give your brain a really potent dose of these protective nutrients. It just goes to show you, small, consistent habits are what really matter in the long run. Now for something really fascinating. We've talked about the science, but how does that complex, sometimes dry research actually reach you and me? How does a dense scientific paper get transformed into something you'd actually want to watch online? Let's pull back the curtain and explore the world of the modern messenger, because understanding how you get your information is almost as important as the information itself. I mean, think about it. On one side, you have academic research. It's incredibly rigorous, data-heavy, and written in very formal language for other scientists. On the other side, you have digital content on platforms like YouTube or TikTok that has to be visually exciting, easy to relate to, and designed to grab your attention in literally seconds. Bridging that huge gap is a massive challenge, and it requires a completely different set of tools. And one of the most powerful tools in that toolbox is something called retention editing. It's a fancy term, but the goal is really simple.
Do whatever it takes to fight your brain's urge to scroll away. It works by creating these little pattern interrupts, quick little jolts to your senses that break the monotony and reset your attention span.
So what do these interrupts actually look like? Well, they can be as simple as a sudden sound effect or a quick zoom in. They can also be cognitive, like showing you something completely unexpected that makes your brain go, wait, what was that? And they can even be structural, like when a character in a video suddenly breaks the fourth wall and talks right to you. It's all designed to keep your brain locked in.
A perfect and maybe surprising example of this is the rise of ASMR content, especially with food. You know, the super exaggerated sounds of crunching and chewing, they aren't just for show. They create a really powerful, sensory-rich experience that makes the content more immersive and, believe it or not, way more memorable. It's a modern way of making you feel the information, not just hear it.
So we've seen the science, and we've seen how that science gets packaged and delivered to us online. Now, for our final section, let's bring it all home. How do we take all this information, both the what and the how, and actually turn it into a real, sustainable, brain-healthy lifestyle? This is where we go from science to sustenance. When you look at the research for brain health, two dietary patterns are always at the top of the list: the Mediterranean diet and the MIND diet. Think of them as cousins. They're very similar, but the MIND diet is a bit more targeted. It specifically adds extra emphasis on those neuroprotective foods we've been talking about, like leafy greens, berries, and nuts.
And newer research is starting to back this up. The thinking is that while both diets are fantastic for you, the MIND diet's laser focus on those key neuroprotective foods might just give it a slight edge when it comes to protecting the brain over the long term.
But of course, knowing what to eat is one thing. Actually doing it when life is busy is a whole other challenge, right? This is where meal prepping can be a total game changer. It sounds intimidating, but it really boils down to a few simple habits. Plan your meals on one day, cook bigger batches of things like grains and proteins, freeze some extras, and prep easy grab-and-go stuff like washing greens or hard-boiling eggs. A little planning makes healthy eating the easy choice.
So we'll end with this thought. We've seen the hard science behind what fuels our brains, and we've pulled back the curtain on the modern techniques used to communicate that science. The real question is, now that you know all this, how will it change not just what you choose to eat, but also how critically you think about the health information you consume every day? Something to chew on. Thanks for watching.